Hello, this is Insane Monster, and this is the beginning part of What If Luffy was the son of Derier. And yes, as in Derier, one of the 10 commandments with the power combo star. So, yeah, if you don't know who that is, go look up the Seven Deadly Sins anime. With that mentioned, let's begin. We begin after Derier dies in the Holy War, where she seems to be brought back into the world of One Piece, though with no memory of the people she once knew or anything else. She only knows her name. After wandering around using her wings to fly, it's the world government noticed her, thinking that she might have some form of new devil fruit. In the attempt of capturing her or killing her for her potential threat, it's found out that she is insanely strong. The quickly realizing the more combat-oriented members of the Marines figure out that the more consecutive hits that she lands, the more powerful her attacks become, allowing her to deal a good amount of damage to enemies. As time went on, her bounty grew and grew, as she was just wandering around trying to find a place to stay, until she one day ran into a man with a tattooed face. The man's name was Dragon. They were both being tracked down by the Marines and ended up fighting together. After they were able to defeat the Marines, Dragon offered her a place where she could belong without worry of being caught, along with giving her some tips on staying low. For one, don't fly around with massive dark wings to begin with. And secondly, put on some proper clothes. So after that, things in the Revolutionary Army went pretty good for them. And eventually, Dragon and Derier ended up having a child, a boy that they named Luffy. Though knowing that it would be pretty dangerous for them, dangerous for Luffy to stay with them, considering who they are, they thought it would be best to send them with Dragon's father, Garp, which they did. Later on, as Luffy grew, we end up where Luffy is in his hometown, with the Shanks and his crew there celebrating. Like in canon, Luffy still eats the double fruit, though at the moment he doesn't know anything about his demon half or his powers. They haven't quite awakened yet. After eating the double fruit, Shanks still yells at him for being a dumbass for eating a double fruit just because he was upset. And of course, it's the gum gum fruit. And those bandits still mess with them and cause trouble, threatening to kill Luffy. Things went pretty much as in canon, as the leader of the mountain bandits tossed Luffy into the ocean. He began to panic, drowning, as Shanks dove in to save him. The bandit still got by the Sea King, and when it came for Shanks and Luffy saw it coming at them, and in that instance, erupt from Luffy darkness that engulfed his entire right hand and expanded outward, creating a dark hand with massively sharp claws, digging into the face of the Sea King, which caused them to be pushed back a bit. It tore into the Sea King as it writhed in pain from Luffy trying to hold on for dear life, but eventually lost control of the darkness, being sent flying. So in this one, Shank didn't lose his arm. but he was surprised by what happened. He figured he's heard some, he knew about Luffy being Garp's kid, and I would guess that he knew about who Garp's son was, meaning who Luffy was, who Luffy was the son of, or at least his father. But after seeing that darkness, he knew very well it wasn't part of the Gum Gum fruit, and there was only one other person that it would have been that he could have inherited that kind of power from. Like in canon, Luffy Shanks hands Luffy his hat, telling him to return it to him once he becomes a great pirate. We continue to where Garp picks him up and scolds him for hanging out with red haired Shanks. Though when he finds out about the darkness he produced, and he's been able to produce ever since, though not to any great extent, he doesn't really know what to do with it or what it is. Garp decides to risk it and tells him that his mother wasn't exactly human and it's something he inherited. Keeping him in the dark about his mother and what he is, along with the powers he inherited, would not be a smart move, considering it can cause a lot more damage and it could end up with Luffy being found out by the world government, which he didn't want. So, but that still didn't mean that he had to tell him anything about his dad Dragon. So he decided not to. He told Luffy to make sure that he didn't show anybody those powers unless he knows he can trust them, or until he can properly defend himself as a proud Marine, which Luffy instantly yelled at him saying he's going to become a pirate, which got a good knock on the head from Garp. Once they got where they were going, Garp yelled, "The Dawn! Get out here!" With the Dawn and her lackeys coming out, and Garp telling her that she's going to watch over Luffy from now on, with her being pissed that she's already dealing with Ace. Once Ace and Luffy meet up and have their little spat, this is when Garp hands over something to the Dawn. He tells her about the darkness he produces and tells her if it gets out of hand where he's going to do something stupid to reveal that power to some people that could end up doing some lot of harm to him, use it. When she took a look at the vial that he handed him, she saw it was chloroform. She looked at Garp saying, "Garp, is it really that serious to keep it a secret?" But Garp said, "It is. As long as nobody that I don't trust doesn't see him use that power, it should be fine. Unfortunately for me, you're one of the people I can actually trust, which is why I left Ace in your care and why Luffy's staying here." Which the John and the others are just pissed that he's just deciding this without any discussion, though Garp's not the kind of person you want to be on the bad side of. He punched a phoenix out of the sky. One hit. That is an old man you do not mess with. So we continue, and Luffy ends up following Ace and such, though it's a lot easier for him. With the darkness reinforcing his body and such, he's pretty strong and can follow him easily. Ends up finding Ace's and Sabo's hideout, which they're pissed about. But when they tried to ditch him running all over the place, they even go past a river where Luffy ends up tripping and falling. He begins to panic, until darkness begins to form again, this time in the shape of wings on his back. He begins to fly straight up, right to Sabo and Ace, where they freak out. After that, they calm down and begin eating. Ace and Sabo asked if that darkness was a devil fruit power. Luffy answered no, though he did eat a devil fruit, stretching out his face, showing that he ate the gum gum fruit, and also explaining that Grandpa Garp said it was something I got from my mom, though I'd never met her. And I don't know who my dad is either, so just full on eating practically all the food. Ace thinks that it's pretty cool, the darkness thing, along with Sabo, though they both think that the whole being made out of rubber is pretty weird. And they do get along. Eventually, they made the promise to become pirates and as well as sworn brothers. Which is when Gart returns, smacking them around when he hears them saying and just spouting out being pirates, even giving the Don a good whack to the head for doing a crappy job of watching over Ace and Luffy. And then when Luffy shoots off his mouth about being pirates with Sabo and Ace, Gart goes full on crazy on all three of them. We can as well he's there. He hands over something to Luffy, telling him it's something that some genius made after getting a hold of the blood of somebody who had similar powers to you. He meant his mom, but he doesn't like to talk about him, her, or his son, so he tries to do it as little as possible, stating that this person was wounded, and gathering the blood, they found out that if a person is compatible, they would be able to attain the same dark power. Luffy was excited by that, though he also told them that unfortunately, due to the little bit of blood that was gathered, they were only able to make the device, a few devices just in case. They weren't able to gain enough to actually do a process that would let somebody gain that darkness. Then Luffy asked, then what does this thing do? Garp explains that apparently if somebody isn't compatible, they'll literally explode. It's a good thing those scientists used rats for the experiment instead of people. Explaining that that device takes some of the blood, could take some of his blood as well as some of the blood of another person or animal, and potentially check them to see if they're compatible. If they're not, then it's a device. It's a circular device with two little other circular little attachments to it. One is a finger prick for Luffy's blood. The other is a finger prick for the other person. If it wasn't compatible, the circle on top would go completely dark. If it was, it would be half dark, half red. So they only do that with people that he can trust. He does this as a precaution just in case. He'd rather his grandson not be captured and used as a guinea pig. So, giving him this, he's hoping that if he finds somebody he can trust and who's compatible, they can help protect his grandson. We continue over when Garp left, and the whole thing happens where Luffy is captured. by some guys that want the treasure that Ace and Sabo have been hoarding. We keep going, and Luffy's restraining himself, trying to remember what his grandpa said about if the wrong people found out about his darkness, that they would try to capture him to sell or to use as a guinea pig or to just plain out kill. So he has to restrain himself all that he can until the dawn Ace and Sabo come to rescue him, beating the crap out of the guy that's been doing this to Luffy. They were able to get out, and everybody that was. And we continue to where the junkyard place. I'm just gonna call it the junkyard because I forget what it's called in the anime, but it continues where it gets burnt down because the celestial dragons are coming. Things get pretty crazy, and Luffy does try to help. So, if you remember the proper anime and all that, if you watched it, Dragon ended up saving everybody from being burnt alive who was living in that mess. We continue, but Sabo unfortunately still gets blown up by the celestial dragon for just sailing a boat in their line of sight. Luffy was furious. He would, and his darkness began to rage. Claws formed on both of his hands, as well as covering his legs, sprouting wings, getting ready to fly off to saying that he's going to tear the celestial dragon's heads off. The Don and the others were able to grab Luffy, trying to hold him down, but it wasn't going that well until the Don remembered the vial that Garp gave him, yelling at her subordinates to go grab it. They did. One of them hurried up and grabbed it, along with a cloth, using it, sprinkling some of the chloroform from the vial Garp gave her, thinking, I guess it's a good thing Garp figured this might happen, huh? Putting some of it onto the cloth, and then putting it over Luffy's mouth. It began to work, a bit slowly though, and he eventually passed out. After that, the Don told everybody to grab Luffy and grab all the chains and shackles that they can find. They shackled Luffy as best as they could to make sure that he wouldn't go after the celestial dragons until he properly calmed down. Though it wasn't easy. When they thought he was going to break the chains, they dogpiled him, so it was pretty rough. But eventually, Garp came back soon after and talked him down. But first he beat some sense into him to force him to calm down, but then talked him down emotionally. He beat him down to calm him down physically, so yeah. As well as Ace, they were frustrated. But Luffy was then released from his shackles. Luffy and Ace then looked out at the sea, swearing to become pirates, no matter what. Time went on. Luffy got stronger and stronger along with training with Ace. Ace even got a bit stronger at more than Cannon, figuring out that the more times he got hit by Luffy in consecutive strikes, the more powerful his hits were. So it was good training for Ace and Luffy. Luffy figured that if showing his darkness was so much of a problem that he should probably keep it under control, but still form some darkness on his body underneath his clothes where people won't be able to see them, just in case. As for the little device he had, after Ace left on his journey from becoming old enough, Luffy became kind of lonely without him. And once that happened, he found a black cat who looked like it got hurt. Luffy took out the little device that his grandpa gave him. He remembered how it worked, so he pricked his finger, then took some of the blood that was from the cat and got it onto the other thing to get a sample of it. And lo and behold, it was a half and half match. Yes, yes, Luffy's gonna have a frickin' demon cat thing. Figuring that he saying, huh, didn't know a cat would be able to be compatible with it. He forms a dark claw on one of his fingers, and then using it on his other hand makes a cut, pouring his blood into the very wounded black cat's mouth. After a little bit, the cat began to form darkness around its body, and it began to heal. Once that happened, it was right side up and then stuck with Luffy. It even had if it needed to catch up because it wasn't fast enough on its enhanced strength, it just sprouted little dark wings, which is freaking adorable. Time went on, and Luffy said goodbye to the Don and the others, which he did cry. And and Luffy set out to sail. Though this time it wasn't alone. It was along with his little cat friend that he named that that he ended not knowing what to name him, and any name he did give it just made the Don angry at him because it just sounded so freaking stupid. So the Don just said that she was going to name the cat instead so that it wouldn't get a stupid name. Luffy yelled, fine. And the Don thought for a little bit, thinking, and named it Neko. Luffy was okay with the name, and so the black cat that's with Luffy now is called Neko, and has slight demon powers, though since it's still a cat, you know. But that's all. But since Luffy's set off the sail now, that's all for the what if for part 0 of What If Luffy Was Derrier's Son. Hope you enjoyed. Please remember to like, comment, and hit that notification bell along with subscribing so that you can get updates for the future what ifs. And have a good day.